So what we're going to be looking at is the water neck where the thermostat goes, and you can see the gasket there. And as I was working on the brakes, I tilted the car and this wasn't tightened very well. It had no gasket sealer. There is antifreeze spilled on the manifold, but I know that it came out of there. So I'm going to wipe that up, and if it's a little bit down when I take that old neck off, I'm not going to worry about it because I know that it came out on top. I bought a new neck to get a new O-ring, basically. So I looked this up on Summit Racing for a 76 Corvette. It says it fits, and I turn it on the back, it says 1966 to 75, but in matching it up with what's on there, it does look like it's the same. So I'm gonna open this and we're gonna get about installing the thermostat and the gooseneck. So I wiped off the antifreeze. I got the thermostat in there, and I thought I was recording, I wasn't, but the thermostat always goes spring side down so that it's immersed in the coolant. And then the neck goes on top of it. On the new bolts. That looks longer than the one I took out. It's going to be okay. It doesn't look like it's long enough to bottom out. Going in nice and easy. Okay, that should be plenty good. Get the radiator hose on. And I'll have to get a socket and extension for that to tighten it. So that's a 5/16 hit on that worm clamp. Using a long extension, a long socket so that I don't need an extension, although I think I could have used an extension. Would have given me a bigger swing, easier. So now that that's on, put the PCV hose on, and I can actually move that clamp in so that it's clamped. That appears to be far enough on. So all that's left now is I'll top off the radiator. I'm going to check and make sure these are on. I know that's on. I'll top off the radiator and put some in the expansion tank, and the cooling system is ready to go. So I got the radiator cap on, and the way that thing is at an angle, you can't see it here. Let me see if I can move the camera. Okay, that might be better. The octagonal thing there, it looks like a head of a bolt really, but it's the radiator cap. I got one with a thermostat built into it so that if I'm working on the car I can see the temperature of the engine. But the angle that's at, when you're filling it up, you can't fill that top section of the radiator because it's higher than the bottom of that filler hole, and you just dump it out. So because I know that there's some empty space in the radiator and the radiator hose, there's the expansion tank, and it's got a cold and a hot marking on it. Because I know that there's some empty space in there and it's cold, I'm going to fill it a bit over the cold mark so that when it heats up and expands and comes into this expansion tank and then sucks it back in, because that's what it's designed to do, I should still have some in the expansion tank. So I have to open a new bottle of antifreeze, so I'm going to just shut off the camera here. I'll fill that up, and the cooling system will be done. Having said that, there's another connection that's related to the cooling system that I still have to make, and it is for the transmission cooling line. It goes into the radiator, but the fluids don't mix. It just goes to a heat exchanger inside. And I still have this line to connect to the input port of the transmission cooler in the radiator. So I'm going to fill that off camera, and that's pretty much it for the cooling system until we fire it up and have a heat cycle. And once we're done with the heat cycle, we're checking the fluid again to make sure we've got enough in the expansion tank.